Friday, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jackie Mendez. I'm your host for today's show. Today is Friday. Like I said, it's criminal day. We're going to be talking criminal. We're going to be talking immigration. And before I introduce our attorneys, I just want to remind everyone about that number on the screen. It's 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call. The consultation is free. If you're watching us via YouTube, via Facebook, please don't forget to like, to share. You never know who may need this kind of information. If you don't, please go ahead and just share it anyways. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce our attorneys today here at PraDa Law. First up, we have attorney Mike Haber.
Hi, Jackie. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be back with PraDa Law.
And he's going to be talking to us about criminal law, like always, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, today we have Oscar Chavez.
Hi, Jackie. Hello, everybody home.
And he'll be talking to us about immigration. So let's listen up, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, and of course, the lovely Jennifer Pratt.
Oh, thank you, Jackie. Too kind. It's a pleasure to be here with everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, 888-88-LEGAL. The show is live, so go ahead, call, tune in, talk to us. We can help. We can answer any questions you may have. Let's get right into the conversation.
Right into the conversation, Jackie. Today is Friday, and Fridays we usually focus on criminal and immigration because it's the weekend. A lot of people may encounter police, may find themselves in a situation that they may have a question about, and so we're here to give you some tips so that the weekend can be smooth for you, and it can just be all fun and no problems. And part of what we want to talk about today is we want to talk about the intersection between criminal law and immigration law. And listen up, because there's a lot of people here that may think, well, immigration law doesn't really affect me. Take a look at your status in this country. If you are a resident, a legal permanent resident in this country, and you are arrested, and even if you are not convicted, you could face deportation depending on the facts and circumstances of your case. So this is a really important show because unless you are literally filing to become a citizen this week, okay, which you should have done 2 weeks ago because the fees went up now. Yeah. But anyhow, you are susceptible to being deported or at least being placed in deportation proceedings. So I want to start off this evening with Attorney Haber. Attorney Haber wants to explain to us a little bit about how he has seen immigration and criminal law intersect in his practice. Attorney Haber, we're in Miami. There's a lot of people without status. I don't like to refer to them as illegal aliens. That sounds like some sci fiction movie. And the truth of the matter is we're all illegal because ain't now one of us ever been born in this country from the start. Okay, baby? So unless you're a Native American, we all illegal, okay? So with that being said, people without status, they have no documentation, they have no residency, and as well as legal permanent residents. Talk to me a little bit about what you've seen in your practice and how these two areas intersect.
Well, thank you, Jennifer. So there's a natural connection between immigration and criminal law, especially here in South Florida. We have a very diverse community. Many people emigrate or immigrate here. Some people legally, some people illegally, some people legally and then stay after they're not supposed to. There's an infinite number of possibilities, but what's universally true is that if you are not a United States citizen and you get arrested, the overwhelming odds are that you may have a problem with immigration. And so any experienced criminal defense lawyer is going to ask that of their client right up front. What is your immigration status? Are you a U.S. citizen? Interestingly enough, as you know, most cases resolve by way of plea, one way or another in state or federal court. Over 98% of all criminal cases are resolved that way. And one question that over 98% of all criminal cases are resolved by way of plea.
Wow.
So, and that's just sheer math. The volume of the cases would crush the system if it didn't. So be that for better or worse, the only reason I bring that up is in the standard colloquy that the judge will ask any defendant before they accept a plea, they must ask them about their immigration status, and if they understand that taking the plea will subject them to potential problems with immigration. So it's amazing, having seen tens of thousands of pleas over my years, how many people will say to the judge, Judge, I'm a United States citizen, and the judge still reads the language. So there is a cross-section there, and it does happen often, and it's very important for a criminal lawyer to identify that and to be able to either handle the immigration aspect or to be able to turn it over to someone like Oscar at PraDa Law and say, hey, I need you to call my friend Oscar because he can help you with this component of your case.
Oscar, and depending on if the person is or isn't a citizen, why is it important at that moment when they're accepting the criminal plea for them to know whether or not this may affect them in some way, shape, or form in their immigration status?
That's a good question. And just like Attorney Haber said, it all depends on what status you have in this country. If you're a citizen, of course, most of the time, the worst thing, I say the worst, but you'll get prison time, but you won't get any issues where you're deportable. You're going to get sent back to your country where you don't want to return because of issues. But let's use the status of an illegal immigrant. I know Attorney Pratt doesn't like that term, but that's the term that immigration uses and the court uses. If you were to get an issue, you have an issue with that, the problem becomes you could either become inadmissible or you could be deported straight back to your country. Now, that all depends. Are you here legally? Did you come with a visa, a tourist visa? If you came with a tourist visa and you got, let's say, a simple crime like a DUI, it could make you inadmissible to come back in the country, but it won't probably go any deeper than that. But let's say you've been here unlawfully present for more than the 6 months you're allowed to be here. Now we're talking about an issue where they could deport you. You could get arrested, and the office could tell ICE that, well, he's been here illegally for more than 6 months, so he's been here illegally for 1 day, just 1 day, and they could send you back home. You could be deported. You could be in a deportation order, have a lot of consequences. It's just not prison time. It could be being sent back home and not being able to come back into the country.
But it could kind of be prison time in a way, right, Oscar?
Correct.
Because if you wind up in detention in an ICE facility, I mean, it's not a penitentiary, but it sure as hell ain't the Ritz.
What I meant by no prison time is typically if you get to that point where you're even 1 day over, they could just deport you immediately. They don't have to put you in a detention center. Typically happens, like Attorney Haber says, but they don't have to. They could just send you straight home, give you an airplane ticket, and you're deported back to your country.
Well, like Scarface said, it ain't no duck walk.
Yeah, no, it ain't. Well, thank you so much, Oscar. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that number on the screen is 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call. The consultation is free. We have offices in Miami, in Doral, in Colombia. Give us a call. The number's easy. It's toll-free, 888-88-LEGAL.
And I've seen where people have been convicted, have gone to prison, have gotten out of prison, and ICE was waiting for them right outside, and they still had to go to an ICE detention center and now face new court proceedings, aka deportation proceedings. And this is all the more why it's so important to have a good attorney during that criminal proceeding. We have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. The number's on the screen. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
I know you're home right now asking yourself how. How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera de 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
Welcome back to PraDa Law Live. Once again, I'm Jackie Mendez. It's Friday, and we've been talking criminal law. We've been talking immigration. Ladies and gentlemen, that number on the screen is the number that you need to call for your free consultation. It's 88-LEGAL. Give us a call. That consultation will be free. We did have a question on the break that would probably kick off the conversation. We had Vanessa asking, well, she was just involved in a DUI accident and she is not a citizen of the United States and wants to know, what can she do?
Well, good question, Jackie, and thank you, Vanessa, for the question. It all, like I said in the last segment, it all depends on how you came in. If you came in legally with a tourist visa, then that DUI, depending on what type of DUI as well, that Attorney Haber could explain a little bit more, the different type of DUI, depends on all that. But if you came in here, you have a tourist visa, a DUI, a simple DUI, I'll put it in those terms, might not have that much effect on you, might not even make you inadmissible to come back into the country. You might just be fine. You pay the fine and you're good to go. Now, if you're unlawfully present, like I mentioned, if you have 1 day extra that you have been here illegally, after your visa, it could become a problem. It could become a problem of deportation proceedings. An ICE official could come after you if a police officer stops you and decides to call the ICE office. And that could become a bigger problem depending on the type of DUI we're talking about. Something I think Attorney Haber could right now explain a little bit more about all the different types of DUI that could possibly occur.
Well, I'm gonna only take up contest with one thing you said. I don't think there's anything called an easy DUI.
Yeah, I agree.
I think anybody who gets arrested for DUI has a hell of a road ahead of them. Although there are some, to be fair, that are less complicated than others. So DUI is generally a misdemeanor in the state of Florida. It can be a felony. It can be a felony if you have an accident. And I guess Vanessa, was it Vanessa?
Yes.
Yes, Vanessa said that she had an accident, but she didn't tell us whether or not anybody was injured. And that's going to be the critical difference maker in terms of a DUI. A DUI accident is still a misdemeanor unless it involves serious bodily injury to anybody. That could even be the arrested DUI driver. If you injure yourself and it's considered serious bodily injury, you could be charged with a felony for injuring yourself, much less any other person. And if there are multiple people injured, you pick up a count for each of those individuals. So it kind of stacks. And of course, if you have a fatality involved, then you've ratcheted it up to pretty much the highest level DUI that you can get. But the DUI itself is a complicated matter. It's very technical. There are a lot of check boxes for law enforcement and for defense attorney to go up and down. But again, I get back to that same point for Vanessa, particularly in terms of her DUI, but it wouldn't matter, Vanessa, if you got arrested for any other offense, the same advice I would be giving you. You need competent criminal defense counsel who's able to look at and identify the issues in your case to come up with whatever factual or legal or procedural or substantive mechanism that may be used to attack the allegations in your case. I want to just say, kind of as an aside, in criminal court, there's no such thing as innocent, okay? It doesn't exist. That's not on the form, and there's no checkbox for innocent or guilty. It's guilty or not guilty. So your defense lawyer's honed in on, how can I attack? Where can I find a kink in the state's armor? I like to liken it to looking at kind of like a dam, right? You've got this big wall holding back this monstrous amount of water. And so what we do is we kind of take our little looking glass and we scour it until we find a little chink, and then we take our chisel and our hammer and we chip away at it. And our object is to bring down that wall. So your criminal defense lawyer needs to look at it that way, but it's very important for us to know whether you're legally here or not, because again, I need to be able to say, you got to pick up the phone and call Oscar. You need to get competent immigration representation, because no matter what I do in criminal, you may still have a problem in immigration. Remember, the federal system, be it federal criminal court or immigration court or bankruptcy court for that matter, it's separate and distinct from state court. These are separate sovereigns. So you can be charged in both. You could win one and lose the other. You could win them both. You could lose them both. So that's why Oscar and I need to work in tandem to be able to deal with the client, make sure that they're covered from every conceivable angle, identify their issues on my end from the criminal perspective, on Oscar's end from the immigration perspective.
Okay, thank you so much, Attorney Haber. Well, thank you so much, Vanessa, for that question. And give us a call here at PraDa Law. Give Oscar a call, and he'll be able to help you out, just like Attorney Haber will. Once again, that number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. Jennifer?
I want to talk about two scenarios that have come up in my practice. One is individuals that were here in this country legally as legal permanent residents for many, many years, got arrested several times during the course of their residency here in the United States, and then one day, and even got convicted on some of those arrests, and then one day they traveled outside of the country. When they came back into the country, listen very closely. If you are an LPR, legal permanent resident, and you have been convicted and or arrested multiple times, but especially you have convictions and you're thinking about traveling outside of the country, especially because you feel that this quarantine, you know, you realize you've never traveled and this is the time you want to do it. When we get back from the break, I want to talk to those individuals and explain exactly what may happen when you return. I also want to talk about individuals that are currently incarcerated and that ICE may or may not be waiting for you outside and what that entails right when we return after the break. Stay tuned. We have one more segment. We'll be right back.
I know you're home right now asking yourself, how? How will I pay my rent, my mortgage, my bills, my credit card debt? I'm attorney Alexis Garcia with PraDa Law. I've personally helped people with financial problems over the last 10 years. I understand what you are going through. We saw people lose it all in the 2008 financial crisis. You don't have to lose it all. The consultation is free. Call us now. I will help protect what you have built. You have nothing to lose by calling us. Call us now. These are trying times. This deadly virus is affecting our health, economy, jobs, our small business owners. Bankruptcy protection may be able to save assets and immediately stop your creditors from harassing you. Small business owners, employees of business of any size, we know you need help. Call us now. We will help you get back on your feet. Don't wait until it's too late. This is the time to call.
Sé que estás en la casa ahora mismo preguntándote, ¿cómo? ¿Cómo voy a pagar la hipoteca, la renta, los biles, las tarjetas de crédito? Soy la abogada Jennifer Pratt con PraDa Law. Yo personalmente he ayudado a las personas con problemas financieros durante los últimos 10 años. Yo entiendo por lo que estás pasando. Vimos cómo la gente lo perdió todo durante la crisis financiera del 2008. No tienes que perderlo todo. Llama ahora. La consulta es gratis. Te ayudaremos a proteger todo lo que has construido durante todos estos años. Sabemos que estos son tiempos difíciles. Este virus mortal está amenazando nuestra salud, nuestra economía, nuestros empleos y a los propietarios de nuestras pequeñas empresas. La consulta es gratis. Llame ahora. Te ayudaremos a recuperarte. No esperes hasta que sea demasiado tarde. Llame ya.
And welcome back to PraDa Law Live, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'm Jackie Mendez, and I'm your host for Friday's show. And forever show, actually, Monday through Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking criminal law. We've been talking immigration, okay? What are your rights? The weekend is upon us. You don't want to get stopped. You don't want to get a DUI. We want to help you in case that does happen. And the number to call is on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. Give us a call because the consultation is free.
You know, I would imagine right now, this post-quarantine, I mean, I know we're still all in quarantine, but things are opening up. The governor of Florida, you know, last week said, hey, all's open again, 100%. I would imagine a lot of people have cabin fever, and they're all going out. And I think first, I don't know, Attorney Haber, I hope not, but I have a feeling your practice is going to get suddenly very busy with DUIs and people going out again and just sort of, you know, Miami going back to this party town that we're known to be. So please, I know we're all been cooped up for a long time, but guys, you got to be responsible. I mean, Ubers and Lyft are literally, you know, a dial away. And I promise you, as much as I would love to send some business to Attorney Haber, that $100, $200 Uber is not going to be a dent in defending a DUI and seeing yourself in trouble. And especially if you've already had a couple under your belt, you definitely don't want to be there. So before the break, we were talking, I brought up a point that I think a lot of people don't know about, Jackie, which is if you're a legal permanent resident and you've somehow gone under the radar, so to speak, you've been arrested, you've been convicted, and you've never been placed in deportation proceedings. One of the ways I've seen a lot of people end up in deportation proceedings, Oscar, is they travel outside of the country, be it a cruise, be it on a plane, and as they are going back in or being inspected, they get an NTA at the airport. Talk to us, what is that about? What is an NTA and what happens next? Are they in deportation proceedings?
Wow, it happens a lot more than people realize. People go, they travel, they think because they're LPR or they have a visa, they could go out and come back in. Then a CBP officer, an officer at the airport, at the port of entry says, wait, you have these issues. You had a DUI, you had a criminal activity while you were here. You're still not a citizen, so here's your NTA. What's an NTA? It's basically a notice that says a notice to appear. It's what it is, in plain and simple. A notice to appear where? Immigration court. You're gonna go in front of the judge now and have to defend your rights. What is your relief? Most people realize that their relief is an asylum. For you, it might be different because you are an LPR, so you gotta just prove that maybe with a waiver. There's a waiver. There might be a waiver for your crime. It depends. What type of crime we're talking about? Aggravated felonies. Are we talking about DUI, traffic tickets, drug offenses? All these different type of crimes, all depends on what crime it is. A crime of moral turpitude is what you gotta realize is the biggest offense. Basically a crime that the government, immigration, anybody sees that it's just beyond incorrect, beyond moral, that you can't, not even the government is willing to give you a waiver for that. Those are all the type of
I don't
things.
mean to cut in on that, but I just think it's very important to make the point. And I'm not obviously not the immigration guy here, but doing this as many years as I have, I've seen this more times than I can count. A crime of moral turpitude, believe it or not, shoplifting. So you can get a misdemeanor shoplifting and wind up getting yourself booted out and having an ICE problem over a $20 theft from Macy's.
So that could be enough. So, and like Attorney here says, it could be any type of crime. So what type of crime have you committed? Why is it that when you came back in, did that officer at the port of entry decide to give you the NTA? That's what's most important to find out and realize.
And Attorney Haber, you're right. Something as simple as maybe even petty theft. I had a case years ago, one of my first immigration cases, the person had 3 petty thefts spread out over the course of a couple of years, and that was enough for the court to find her in the Immigration Appeals Court, actually, the BIA, find her that she lacked the moral turpitude. And yet I have a case right now where the person is being accused of burglary of an occupied dwelling. And I think, I mean, I want to explore this a little more with the great Oscar Chavez, but I think that we may be able to actually file a waiver for this individual. So it's crazy to me that this human being who stole literally, I think it was bobby pins back in the 80s in New York, found herself being deported, but yet someone who can, allegedly break into your house in the middle of the night and steal while you're in there sleeping, allegedly, could get a pass, and yet not someone with a couple of petty thefts.
I just want to bring up 2 quick points, if I might, because we're running out of time. But I think it's very important to talk about 2 things. One is sanctuary cities, because everybody here in the 305 should know we are not a sanctuary city. This is not San Francisco. This is not Chicago. Anybody who gets booked into a jail here in Miami-Dade County and is not a U.S. citizen, ICE is getting a call. That doesn't necessarily mean that a detainer or a hold will be placed on you, but it does mean that ICE will get the call and they will have the option to detain you on top of any charges that you might face in federal court. And the other thing I wanted to mention was the concept of a withhold of adjudication, which is a statutory creature here in Florida that allows people to escape the tag of being convicted, whether it's felony or misdemeanor. So as far as Florida is concerned, you dodge that bullet. But it's important to know that as a matter of federal law, again, criminal or immigration makes no difference. They don't recognize Florida's withhold. So to the feds, your withhold is meaningless. You are convicted.
Thank you so much, Attorney Haber. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, that number on the screen, 888-88-LEGAL. Let us help you out of that bind. Don't get into trouble. Call PraDa Law Live.
That's right, and we're running out of time. We're going to have to say goodbye and have a great weekend. But before that, I invite you to come to the office. The consultation is free. If you've been arrested, if you've been convicted, come to our office, meet with us. We have the list of crimes. We'll analyze for you at the consultation. We'll give you our best advice, let you know if we think that you may or may not be eligible for a waiver, and whether or not you have some sort of defense in the event you find yourself in a deportation proceeding. Don't do this alone. Have a great weekend, but remember, stay safe, and please don't drink and drive. Behave. It's the weekend, but enjoy yourselves. This quarantine has taught us all to live life. See you next week.